Moves to the right. It goes directly to Clement. Clement reverses it, and the pass goes into the end zone.
To Nick Foles.
It's a touchdown by Nick Foles.
He scores! Keith Prino is able to win it, and the Flyers win the touchdown.
Can he get it off? Yes! And the Sixers win it!
What is going on, everybody? We are talking 215 here with a little live show. Normally save our live shows for at Ulysses, where you actually got to be there to really enjoy the stuff. But we decided, it's time to get a little stuff off our chest. Obviously, if you're at those Ulysses shows, you recognize this ugly mug behind the bar serving them up right.
It's
Bill's
me,
joining
I'm
us.
Bill. Yeah.
It's me, I'm Bill. That's him.
And
He's Bill.
I'm so happy to actually be able to be on the podcast this time and not just working it. But I have a lot on my chest, Jake. I got a lot of things I want to talk about. We're going to run through it, and I'm excited to be doing it.
No, I mean, look, we're here down in the Bill Bachelor pad, the BBP.
We call this one the Billy Pistols Basement Saloon.
There we go, Billy Pistols.
And if
Shout
you can
out
see it,
Billy Pistols.
it is a midnight green paint for a reason.
Amen. So anybody joining, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. We're going to have the call-in line set up here shortly. I'm going to be putting it down in the banner there where you see all of our stuff about our friends at DOS. There's going to be a call-in line starting in about 10 minutes or so. You got anything you want to get off your chest, anything you want to talk Philly sports, we can vent about the Eagles. We can talk about the promise of the Flyers, Sixers. We can talk about the Phillies doing absolutely nothing so far this offseason. We can talk about pretty much anything you want. So that call-in line is going to be opening up probably 10, 15 minutes or so. You'll see the banner at the bottom change from our sponsorships to the number that you can call. It actually might be a different banner where we can keep that going, but you'll see that. Definitely call in. You don't even have to go video if you just want audio or anything. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And let's get after it. Bill, you were actually at the game in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
You took the red eye Sunday night, got there early Monday morning.
I arrived about 11 or 1:30 Monday morning.
Yep.
I took a quick nap. I played a round of golf with my dad, and then we headed up.
There you go.
The Tampa Stadium, I will say this, taking the loss out of it, it's a frustrating stadium to get into.
Really?
Yeah, it is. The traffic isn't routed well,
Yeah, that's Florida.
but by the time we got there, we missed the entire first quarter, and the Birds were down 16-3.
Nice.
It's a tough spot to go in as a fan, ready for this game, and we're already losing.
Should the Eagles go after Roquan Smith? A comment we have there. No, Coach, the Eagles should not go after Roquan Smith, as the Ravens had signed Roquan Smith. A little inside joke, Coach. Obviously, one of the famous hosts of the podcast had a little gaffe in the last episode. Talked about how the Eagles should go after Roquan Smith when he meant to say they should go after Patrick Queen, as they probably won't be able to afford Patrick Queen, and linebacker is a desperate need for the Eagles right now. So it's he's poking a little fun at himself, as Coach made one of his very few errors that he has ever made. Still ended up taking second in talking weights. No idea how I finished last. Thought I absolutely ran away with it, and to find out I finished last is a little surprising. But no, Coach, they should not go after Roquan Smith. Right now, we're looking like they're going to be going after an offensive, defensive coordinator, possibly some position coaches. But right now, it kind of sounds like Nick Sirianni is keeping his job. From early reports, Howie and him are having meetings about who they might want to go after. Obviously, he's meeting with Jeffrey Lurie tomorrow, and that's going to be the real thing. Like, we all thought Doug Peterson was kind of in that same position where some people thought he should lose his job. We're not really sure where he's at, but he ended up having that exit interview. And during that interview, it kind of came out where both parties were like, yeah, we're done.
So I'm going to steal this one from you, Jake.
Go ahead.
Rapid fire, yes or no? Sirianni has not had his meeting. Do you think that goes well tomorrow?
I mean, I can't think it. No, it's not going to go well. There's no way an exit interview where you start 10-1 and finish 11-6 and losing 6 of your last 7, including the postseason game, is going to go well. Like, Jeffrey Lurie's pissed.
It can't go well.
No.
Going back to 2021 when he started 2-5.
Yeah. I mean, Philly Monarchs saying bring Frank Reich back.
If we could,
If he can come back as an offensive coordinator, I said that about 4 weeks ago on the pod.
Can we start a Kickstarter to pay his salary and steal him back from the Colts, please?
He's not. I mean, he's not. What do you mean he's stealing back from the Colts? He was fired from the Colts. He was fired from the Panthers. He's not. He doesn't have a job right now.
Frank Reich.
Frank Reich.
Okay,
He was the Panthers head coach. I know we have some listeners in South Carolina. I know we got somebody reaching out saying he's going to call in a little bit from some of our lovely fans in South Carolina. Yeah, Frank Reich's unemployed right now.
All right, question number 2.
Yep.
Brian Johnson. Do you believe the smoke that he's getting head coaching interviews?
Well, there's no smoke. He's getting head coaching interviews.
From who?
He's actually getting an interview from the Panthers. He's getting an interview from the Titans, and I believe there's one other team that he's getting an interview from. And unfortunately, it's from the Rooney Rule. Like, I hate to say it, but unfortunately, he's getting interviews, especially early interviews, because the NFL, in their warped view of inclusivity, thought the Rooney Rule was a good idea. And actually, it just, like, if you're talking about trying to make sure everything's inclusive and all, it really makes it less inclusive. Like, you're seeing around the league, you're seeing phenomenal coaches of color, and it's having an effect regardless.
How well has Mike Tomlin done?
Mike Tomlin is one of the greatest head coaches in NFL history. I mean, he's gone 16 years without a losing record. You got D'Amico Ryans, who should be coach of the year, should have been number 1 overall pick last year, to beating a team in the wild card game, absolutely demolishing a team in the wild card game that a lot of people thought their defense was going to be incredible. So unfortunately, Brian Johnson is only getting these head coach interviews because he's a coach of color. I don't believe anything behind you saw what he did with Florida. You've seen what he's done as a quarterback's coach with Jalen. Shane Steichen, if it wasn't made even more obvious than ever before, was who brought Jalen to where he was. It wasn't Brian Johnson as a quarterback coach. It was Shane Steichen. So, look, Panthers, if you're listening, please, don't take him. He's such a good coach. We would miss him so dearly. And if you're not listening, like everybody in Philly is listening, the guy's just not fit to be an offensive coordinator. If he did have any kind of impact on Jalen, sure, he should go back to being a quarterback coach somewhere. He's burnt his bridges here. There's no demotion. Like, nobody's going to get demoted and stay with that same team. Let him go somewhere else. He's gone. Sean Disguise is gone. That's a little name we used to call him when the defense was good earlier in the year. Matt Patricia, hope and pray that he is gone. Really, who would have thought the only position coach would really want to see, the only coordinator, is the special teams coordinator?
Oh, special teams did fantastic.
Yeah, and we're coming off of a year where Michael Clay and his unit possibly lost us a Super Bowl. Yeah. We had the worst punter ever in Aaron Sippis. We had no kind of punt coverage whatsoever. We just had guys making gaffes every single game. And we kept saying all year, for anybody listening to the pod, we were saying, look, special teams is going to catch up to you. We haven't had a coach that really dives into special teams. You hate to say it, like Chip Kelly was the last time any coach has really been like, let's invest in special teams.
I mean, we hate to hear that name because of the dismantling, but that's true.
Yeah, I mean, we were blocking punts regularly, at least
we
yearly
were blocking
basis
punts. We had a lot of really good deep kicks, and we weren't letting people gouge us there.
Yeah.
When you're talking about our defense, special teams, I believe, as a avid fantasy football player, special teams and defense are very closely linked.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But if you were to separate those stats, if you separate those stats, our special teams massively outperformed.
Yeah, I mean, our special teams in the second half of the year was the best unit. I mean, Jake Elliott was the only guy deserving of a Pro Bowl nod, really, and Jason Kelce, obviously. Jake Elliott really should have been All-Pro. He's second-team All-Pro, but he was probably the best kicker in the NFL this season.
The fact that Elliott was not All-Pro.
Yeah, he's second-team All-Pro. So, I mean, he was up there.
It hurts my soul.
Yeah, Braden Mann. I mean, we have a punter, folks. And Braden Mann, the guy was great. I mean, especially come from Aaron Sippis. Like, you're seeing awful punts. Anytime he got a punt over 45 yards, you were jumping for joy. I actually got an argument with Aaron Sippis's brother on Twitter, and I was like, look, man, like, I more than anybody want your brother not to suck. Like, I'm not rooting for him to suck. I would love for him to be great, but I'm just calling a spade a spade. Like, the guy stinks. When he's 35th in average punt distance. Bill, question for you. How many teams are there in the NFL?
There are 32. Sir.
How many punters do teams usually equip on a team?
Normally one.
Yeah, so when you're 35th,
backup,
backup maybe. And if it's a backup, they're on the practice squad. They're not on the 53.
Oh, is it the Chiefs defensive back?
Yeah, kicking extra points, kicking field goals.
He qualifies.
He's not a punter.
Yeah, but he qualifies as a punter, so he's better than Sippis.
Yeah, he literally had better average punt yards than Aaron Sippis. So we got a guy in Braden Mann.
So here's the big one.
Yep.
And this is not a snap judgment here that I would like to hear you explain on this.
I'm sitting down.
So we have a head coach, Sirianni, who hires his good buddy, Brian Johnson, to be our offensive coordinator.
Well, he was already in house. Honestly, he was the obvious pick. Like, we all thought it was the right move. But go on.
Yes and no. But so if Sirianni brings an offensive coordinator to Lawrence, or Howie Roseman says, we should hire this person, are you trusting his judgment there? Or does that elevate this decision? Because Brian Johnson came from the Sirianni tree of thought. They basically abandoned the run game. They're leaning on their heavy, good players, we'll call it. So the next time that he comes to management and says, I've found your next offensive coordinator, is it as simple as, let's have one interview and get him in? Or you're done trusting his judgment? You need some oversight for Sirianni now.
Well, look, we're a few days removed, and obviously emotions have somewhat calmed down. You know, we're leaving that Tampa Bay game. Fire everybody. Like, everybody's livid. You're at the point where you're just like, clean house, get rid of them all. You had people even saying Howie, get rid of Howie. And look, Howie definitely has to hold some of the blame here with what he did with this defense and not really going after and securing spots of need and just saying, we're going to roll the dice with guys like Nakobe Dean, Zach Cunningham, who was available at the very end of training camp. Obviously, he's available for a reason. But you have all these guys, like, the emotions have gone down a little bit. And so now we're sitting here and we're thinking they got a little bit unlucky last year in the fact that they went so deep in the playoffs. Because when they decided to actually move on and their coaches got hired away, it was Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon were two of the last head coaches to be hired. So a lot of the offensive coordinators.
Both shout out to fantastic coaches that are doing great things in other cities, unfortunately.
I mean, Jonathan Gannon is not a fantastic coach. He's a fine coach. He earned a second year, but it's not like, they're like, we found our head coach in Arizona. Shane Steichen was doing great until the final play of the regular season, which was a big head scratcher. But either way, we were finally, when we finally needed to hire an offensive and defensive coordinator, a lot of the big names had already been hired.
Very true.
And so I'm not 100% sure if it was so much Nick Sirianni's pick, if it was a joint effort, because they were kind of picking from the bottom of the barrel. They had Brian Johnson in-house, which a lot of people, myself included, were like, this is the obvious pick. This guy's known Jalen since he's 4. If anybody's going to be able to bring the most out of him, it's going to be him. And then Sean Desai was a list of, a few candidates left that, again, people were like, look, he was a defensive coordinator with Seattle when they were pretty good at defense. He's been a secondary coach in Chicago, one of their only strong sides of their defense. Let's see what he can do. And I was optimistic. And so now we're at a time where we're hopefully going to be firing them both tomorrow. I'm hoping they're going to make that announcement
Lord
tomorrow.
willing, yeah.
And we're going to be able to pick, no big offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, anything has been hired yet. So hopefully we'll have that opportunity to at least interview some of these bigger names. And this is all just assuming that Nick Sirianni doesn't get fired. But regardless, no, they're going to be heavily involved, Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman.
They have to be.
But all that to being said, I don't know how much that they were really involved in there. We are going to go to Cody in Kentucky. Cody.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
To say about Sirianni, the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, can you guys hear me all right?
You there, boss? Well,
yeah, well, my chat's
lighting up like I'm there. Issues on my end. Stand by. We are going to take you out just momentarily, and then we're going to bring you right back in, dealing with a little bit something here, switching that.
Yeah.
Hey, better now?
There he is. Sorry about that. We're dealing with a little bit of issues
no
on
worries.
our end. Cody, thank you for calling and talking to us.
There are Eagles fans in Kentucky. We love to hear it.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, so I mean, I think there's a little bit of a bright spot on I know everybody was mad at Sirianni last week, but the thing to remember is the Eagles have been good and successful under Sirianni, right? So we made the Super Bowl last year with Sirianni. And certainly some of the blame lays on him here. It's a leadership, it's a culture issue on the team. But my profession is a quality engineer. And so when something goes wrong, we do a root cause analysis. We try to figure out what caused this, what changed. And so, some things that changed. You kept a lot of the same offensive players, right? So let's look at that. Defense changed up a little bit, so we'll set that aside for now. But the offense was pretty much the same. If anything, on paper, better than last year. And something happened. Well, so what's the biggest change on the team? And it was the coordinators. So yeah, there's certainly a discussion to be had of how much were the coordinators, offense and defense coordinators last year propping up Sirianni. And you certainly have to point some fingers at Sirianni here. But at the same time, we know the Eagles can win under Sirianni. You know that we can have a successful culture and we can make a Super Bowl with him. So I think you're onto something there with, hey, let's get in this process earlier. Let's find the good OCs, the good DCs. Let's get that ball rolling and see if we can get this back on track.
Yeah, I mean, look, everything like we said, I aired some grievances about Jalen Hurts and how I didn't love how he just sits there on the bench, doesn't have a tablet in his hand, isn't talking to anybody. But nobody cared about that when we were winning. You know what I mean? Winning cures everything. Winning cures it all. So right now, we're sitting the losers of 6-7.
Being a stone cold killer on the bench when we're up 2 scores, nobody cares.
No, exactly.
When we're down 2 scores, we're all screaming, we need you.
Yeah, we got to fire up the troops. We were still in this game, and you see Dallas Goedert yelling at him. Who knows what they were talking about? Could have been the play calling for all we know. But everybody's all like, you're much more mad at these things when you're losing. Winning cures it all. And when we were winning, Nick Sirianni, we were like coach of the year, back-to-back phenomenal years. He's getting a lot out of these guys. Yeah, there's some issues of play calling, but he's going to be able to adjust. He'll figure it out. And the one thing that we kind of saw was he didn't adjust.
He didn't.
It was the same things from week 1 to week 18. And Cody, let me ask you, last year, the first 8 weeks of the season, the Eagles won 8 different ways. They were beating you so many different ways. It wasn't like the same thing every week. And so that's the one concern with Sirianni. Well, I mean, that's the main concern with Sirianni I have is the lack of adjustment. And so I'm hoping that it was a more Brian Johnson thing, but that still kind of falls on Nick Sirianni for why didn't you jump in there and say something and do something? You're the head coach of this team. Your say goes over any coordinator. But I am hoping that they get in this fight early with offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. They go out, find anybody from the Shanahan tree that we can bring in here. There's obviously a bunch of big names in Skokel and Ben Johnson that are both likely to be head coaches. But if somehow they fall through the cracks there and for whatever reason they decide to leave their current teams, if we could grab either of those guys, that would be an amazing find. But Sirianni's got to do something, man, because you hear these players talking about him, but it's certainly in how they love him and they want to keep him and all. But it really seemed watching these games like he lost the locker room and he lost the players.
Well, yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here singing Sirianni's praises. Like I said, there was a management and a culture issue with this team, and I think he hit the nail on the head with the inflexibility as well. So something's gotta change. My point was they can be successful with Sirianni, but obviously he takes some of the blame this year. And watching the Eagles this year, they just look stale, uncreative, and it reminds me a little bit of my Bengals at times, where they're just calling the same dumb plays week after week, and it's not working right. And you've got a roster with such amazing talent on it, but you're not coming up with creative things. The defensive coordinators you're going against have seen what you're doing at this point, and they're just shutting you down every single time. And it's like, gotta be a little more flexible.
Offense, like Miami or San Francisco, their pre-snap motions involve 3 players.
Yep.
We're moving.
If we're moving any, it's 1. If any.
Almost nobody.
Yeah, I mean, we're dead last in pre-snap motion.
And some of these teams are disguising plays so well, even on defense. There's a lot of teams, and I could just sit here for the next 20 minutes talking about that, but to the point, you have to be creative. You have to disguise your plays.
Yep.
If you're being stale, if you're being stagnant, and you're telegraphing what you're going to do, I can call that play as a drunkard on my couch playing Madden.
No, I mean, we've said it. And again, like for those listeners, you're like, geez, Jake is saying this again. When we on our couch can look at it and be like, oh, quarterback draw, oh, run to the outside, oh, they're going to do a wide receiver screen. and we can do that from our couch. What do you think a professional defensive coordinator is doing?
It's picking you apart. That's what they're doing.
Two of the dumbest things that Nick Sirianni said this year was when he was talking about dropping Hassan Reddick into coverage, and he was asked about that, and he was saying, "Oh, we got to keep our defense unpredictable." Something being unpredictable doesn't mean it's better. Like if you decide to run it with the fattest, slowest guy on your team, did the other team predict that? No. But it doesn't mean it was a good fucking idea.
It doesn't mean that you get a first down.
No,
out of it.
like being unpredictable doesn't mean shit. So
not every tricky play is the Philly
and
special.
then the other thing he said was, when he was asked about preset motion, he said, we can do a lot of other things to determine what the defense is in. Where they're talking about, if you're in preset motion, you can find if somebody's coming all the way across and you have a good idea whether they're in man, whether they're in zone. And he said, there's a lot of other things that we can do to determine what the defense is doing. And when he said that publicly, all I thought was, well, now a defensive coordinator, all they have to do is do fake fronts and make them be like, oh, well, they're not going to run preset motion. We can make it appear that we're in a cover 2. We can make it appear that we're in, a cover 3 shell and fall out of it. Because Jalen Hurts and any quarterback in existence is going to struggle with, okay, I have a mindset before the ball hits my hands of this is likely what the defense is in. And when the ball hits his hands and he looks up and he sees, oh shit, no, it's not. Any quarterback in the world is going to struggle with 1.5 seconds to be like, well, now I need to determine what they're in, who's now going to be open, and make that decision and pass it, all while determining if somebody's going to be sacking me or not. So they did nothing to help Jalen. Jalen, sure, he might have regressed a little bit, but I talked to you before the show. When you look at the Lions offensive players and the Eagles offensive players as a whole unit, offensive line, quarterback, running back, wide receivers, tight ends.
I'm mostly picking Eagles.
We're very
talent.
Equal. We're very equal, if not slightly ahead. Their offense is light years ahead of ours.
Absolutely.
And it all comes down to scheme, coaching. Like, it's ridiculous how we're just making this so difficult. Yeah, outside the birds, definitely a great file you guys see in there. If Nick Sirianni's sticking around, pay Shane Waldron, whatever he wants to be OC and eventually head coach. I mean, look, you saw the Patriots bring in Jared Mayo, who was part of his contract, was when we move on from Bill Belichick, you were the head coach. I don't think that with Sirianni being the guy he is, like Bill Belichick was a guy that had already been, had so many different accolades and everything that it was a different situation when you tell a guy like that. If you do give him any kind of deal like that, where you're expecting him to be head coach, it is hush hush. Nick Sirianni cannot find out about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But still, that would be an incredible offensive coordinator for us to bring in.
So there are businesses all over the spectrum here. Yeah. Restaurants, we're talking about corporate, everything. They do that. Mm-hmm. It's not unheard of. So we could have these secret interviews. Sure, there's going to be people that see it happening. There's going to be the driver that drives.
And of course, even any head coach is going to have that assumption, like, okay, this is my replacement.
But are we going
to bring the best out of them?
And I'm going to throw this one to you now. Are we hard sold on keeping Sirianni?
No.
Would you like to see us interview Belichick, Vrabel?
No, not Belichick. Vrabel, yes. Look, right now, the main thing that has me thinking, oh, hey, you know what? Maybe Nick Sirianni should be fired is look at the coaches out there.
Absolutely.
Not only did he have the worst collapse in NFL history, you're looking at some of the best head coach candidates or head coaches that have lost jobs that are available.
Well, and I want to talk about the Belichick thing.
No, don't bring Belichick in here.
Look,
first of all, he's 73.
I'm Philly.
Second of all, he's a cheater.
You said you didn't want stale and predictable, and now you're talking about Belichick. I mean, your defense might get better.
Look, so for the Patriots, he was the head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and general manager. If we just let him come in his golden years
and do what? He was one of the worst general managers in NFL.
Exactly.
His drafting was awful.
He doesn't need to draft. Take that off of his plate. He doesn't need to do the DC stuff. We can hire somebody for that. He can do OC, head coach. We're an old team. We need a lot of young talent coming in. If we get him for 2 or 3 years to kind of teach these young guys to instill all of this stuff, would having Bill Belichick suck as much as I hate Boston, but he could do something. Does that hurt?
Yeah, I mean, he could do something, but all I see, like, for me, I think other people could do a lot more. Like Mike Vrabel, defensive-minded head coach that is not afraid of the run.
I 100. You don't have to explain Mike Vrabel to me. I love him.
Like, obviously, we don't have Derrick Henry here in Philly,
Yeah.
but he still knew he got the most that you can get out of Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill's best quarterback years were under Mike Vrabel. And then
Mhm.
who else did he have there playing quarterback for him? Like a bunch of nobodies. And he won Coach of the Year with a bunch of nobodies
Yeah.
and Derrick Henry. So he's a guy that knows you can win running the ball. He can get a ton out of quarterbacks. He loved A.J. Brown. He was
Fantastic.
he was heartbroken when A.J. Brown was traded. He kept telling the front office, he obviously, the GM got fired because of that trade. So he's got a great relationship with A.J. Brown. Get him in here. I would love Mike Vrabel. And again, like if Nick Sirianni's kept, I'm going to root for the guy, but he's obviously lost a lot of, I don't know if it's respect the word, like he's lost a lot of points with me. Like my patience has grown very thin with Nick Sirianni. And it's tough to say because going into this year, we were like, oh, that's awesome. And then quickly jumping right back to everything's okay when we're winning. Everybody thought it was fine when we were winning with him yelling at opposing fans and everything.
I don't think that we thought it was okay. We
But we just didn't care.
we
'cause
didn't
were
pay
winning,
attention
And we
to
were
it,
like,
yeah.
yeah, Philly guy. Yeah, fuck the other team. Yeah.
And,
Now that
and
we're
I
losing,
will-
we're looking back at it. We're like, that
and
was
I-
kind of corny.
I'm going to tack on to the back end of your point is bring him back. I think Sirianni is on thin ice.
Yeah, no, of course he is.
We're skating on top of a pond.
You're saying
and-
Sirianni and your phone's like Siri?
Yeah, I guess.
Looking up Ani for some reason.
Right. But watch it text people. No, I think he's on thin ice. We're skating on pond hockey level.
Yeah.
He has a very tight rope to walk here. So we're gonna bring him back, probably.
Mhm.
I would love Vrabel, but
Yeah, I mean, look, we're going to find out tomorrow. That's going to be the end all be all. We'll
And-
find out tomorrow by 5:00 if Nick Sirianni's back.
if he comes back, Lurie's gonna give him 5 to 7 games.
They don't like firing people midseason. They did it with Chip. They don't like firing people midseason. I was shocked they did the Matt Patricia, Sean Desai thing midseason. Obviously, it was a terrible decision. We went from a below average defense to the worst defense in the NFL. Cody, I want to ask you, season's over. Obviously, it ended in a terrible fashion. A few questions for you. You can answer them in any order you want.
Yeah.
Regular season MVP, biggest surprise, whether it's positive or negative, and biggest disappointment. And that could be coaches or player. Again, answer them any order you want, but I want to hear your answers for those.
Oof. Let's see. Biggest disappointment. I'm gonna go with the Eagles, man. I mean, making it to the Super Bowl last year and starting off 10-1, even if some of those wins on the 10 wins were a little sketchy, to an absolute total collapse at the end of the season. Yeah, that's a massive disappointment. I hate to see it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Regular season MVP and biggest surprise.
I would say biggest surprise is the Texans turnaround, man. I guess just to rebuild, you just
Yeah.
got to draft
Shout
an
out to
elite
Miko.
quarterback
Shout
and you
out to
win.
CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Huge rookie contributions there.
Oh yeah, Tank Dell, one of the best. I mean, obviously Puka Nacua is the best rookie wide receiver.
Mhm.
Tank Dell was probably number 2.
Very, very close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on an amazing run before.
Of
he
course,
got
the week I
banged
take him
up,
off my
too.
taxi squad and start him, he breaks his leg.
Yeah, right.
naturally.
Tragic.
And 9 players on IR in my dynasty league. 9, and they were all big names.
Yeah,
Love it.
relatable. It was a crazy season.
Eagles, and this is Eagles regular season MVP. Who you got?
Eagles regular season MVP.
Yep.
Oof.
If it isn't Jason Kelsey, you're kicked off.
Well, I was actually about to say, I kind of want to go with Jason Kelsey with the fact that this
Shout out.
looks like it's his last year. Other notable runner-ups there. I think Swift had a hell of a year.
When they used him, he was incredible.
Yeah,
Right.
underutilized.
Wish
Swift
they would have ran
did
the
what he
ball
could.
more, especially down the stretch.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's
Um,
probably not coming back. I mean,
I wish
he had his
would,
career.
but
He had
yeah.
I wish he would too. But he had his career year here. But they showed why would he come somewhere where he shows them for a 4-week stretch that he's one of the best running backs in the NFL,
and
then they just say, we're
yeah,
good.
we're not paying him. That's what hurts.
And you
Well-
have a 24 class of incredible running backs.
It's
So
also
you can
really
get on a
sad if
rookie
we're talking MVP of the Eagles here. There's so many names on the roster that should be a very, very hard decision.
Yeah.
And then you just look at it and you're like, okay, well, what did everybody do? And well, they all did way less than they should have been able to.
Hassan Reddick had the quietest, like 12.5 sack season ever.
Yeah.
Like you go 3 years ago and you find somebody that has 12.5 sacks, you're like, holy cow, what a year. And then you watch Hassan Reddick this year and you're like, and it's not even any fault of his own. Like he was dropped into coverage every now and then. He was put in terrible situations, but he finished with 11 sacks in the regular season, and it was the quietest 11 sacks ever. Didn't help that the last 5 games he had 0 sacks. He had 11 sacks with 5 games remaining.
That's awesome.
He had 0 sacks. Yeah, but even then you were like, he's good. He's very good, but it's not like, holy cow, 11 sacks through, would that be 12 games? Like that's incredible.
He's averaging a sack a game.
Yeah. And
we're talking
he
about
finished 0 sacks in the last 5 games, and he finished with a total of 7 tackles in the last 5 games.
So that's a good stat line.
Let me we got some people wanting to call in, so let me open up the line here. I'm gonna put the banner here. We're having a few issues with the Bluetooth, so we're just pretty much going to be holding a mic up to the speakerphone. We've done it before back in the day, but before we get this call in, there we go. There's the banner. Before we get this call in, Cody, is there any final thoughts you have on the Birds or anything?
No, yeah, I'm just hoping for a good turnaround next year. You know, it's a lot of talent on the roster, a lot of pieces in place, and no reason shouldn't be able to make it happen.
Yeah, no kidding. Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate your time. Obviously, if you have any interest or hear anything that you really want to expound upon, you're welcome to hop back in.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Oh yeah.
Go Birds, Cody.
So yeah, you see the number there at the bottom. It should have plenty of service. I'm connected to strong Wi-Fi. Should have no problem calling in. So yeah, definitely take advantage of that. Hop in, give your thoughts, give your 2 cents on Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, Phillies, Union. Are the Philly Stars even still a team? I don't know. They combined with the XFL. I don't know. I know my St. Louis Battlehawks are still a team. Go Battlehawks.
Yeah. Okay, go.
Look, when XFL was founded, I picked a team, and that was the Battlehawks, and they're a damn good team. Tell you what.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it, but I don't know if that league's making it.
Yeah, probably not. They combined with the USL. Now they are the UAF, the United Association of Football, UF, something like that. But yeah, look, 302-540-4492 if you want to call in, give your thoughts on any of that. We will have a question for you at the end as well, the DOS question of the day. And that's the first question is just going to be real simple. Who do you want to see as head coach for the Eagles? It can be Nick Sirianni. And if it's not, who would you like in there? Like I was saying, a lot of big names. Mike Vrabel, Jim Harbaugh, Ben Johnson, Slowick is a big name that a lot of people are like out of the Texans offensive coordinator spot. Obviously, nobody can interview him right now as they are going on a very good run. But there's a ton of good names out there. So if you have your thought on who you would like to see as head coach, and again, if you're a Nick Sirianni defender, I'm not necessarily against you.
Are you throwing it to me, Jake?
I'm throwing it to anybody.
Because I will take the lead and wait for someone to call. I think Nick Sirianni is done.
Battle Chodes. Damn, no, Battle Hawks. Nick Sirianni. Done. Yeah, I mean,
I don't think that we...
You really think they're moving on from, or you want them to?
I want them to, and I think that there's a good chance that they might. We got him in 2021. He had a bad start, turned over play calling. Then our offense got hot. Come in, you promote internally. It's your head coach's job to find these coordinators and bring them to the higher level interview. He did a poor job of that.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, you're general manager of a restaurant, of a business, whatever we're talking about, of a sports organization. The head coach is your boss, and it all filters down from there. Our defense did poorly. Our offense was pretty much miserable. We eked out some close wins to start off 10-1. When was the last time a team started off 10-1? last year. It was the
Yeah, it
Eagles.
was the Eagles.
And it was a very different story, but we had a very different offensive and defensive scheme. So I think, in my personal opinion, Nick Sirianni's done because you can't trust him. You can't trust what's going to happen. You can't trust his judgment. I would like to see Vrabel coming in. I want to see some new blood, a defensive coordinator who believes in running the ball, controlling the clock. I've been on this pod a couple of times now, and I've said this. I've hammered on it. Run the ball, control the clock. Our defense cannot play.
Yeah, it's a time of possession league. But we got Brandon Onchez. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for calling in. Brandon, how are we doing tonight?
Jake, great show, guys. I like what I'm hearing. I like the critique. Hey, Jake, here's a topic. What I can't figure out, quite honestly, is what Nick Sirianni's discernible skill is outside of being probably a nice guy, quite honestly, but a nice guy who says he owns the offensive scheme, which is like staggering. He would admit that.
Yikes.
You got to help me here, Jake, with your guys' thoughts, because I just think he's, again, a nice dude, probably great to have a beer with, but you know what? This guy should be coaching a pro football team.
Yeah, when we were at training camp, humble brag, the only podcast at training camp, what I saw from the day one was a guy that demanded perfection. Day one of training camp, they'd run a play wrong, or their little training camp officiating crew that was out there would throw a flag. He was stopping practice, grabbing players by the face mask, run it again. He was like Herb Brooks in Miracle again, just making these guys run it until perfection. So I thought, oh man, this guy's great. This guy is just, he knows what he's doing. He's demanding perfection. He knows, what offense he wants to run, how he wants to run it. But to your point, when you're looking back at it, the identity of this offense was probably the fact that they didn't have an identity. Their identity was a lack of identity. And you're looking at Shane Steichen go over to Indianapolis and have pretty much great success for a team that had no expectations.
Fantastic.
And was one awful
Took 'em
play call
all the
away
way.
from being in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You think like exactly what you're saying. What is this guy's skill set?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the players love him. Like players love Doug too, but you saw what happened to him. I don't even have an answer to that. Brandon, do you have anything other than him being nice, or is it kind of just this guy is a nice guy?
Listen, I think you got it exact. I think, again, I know that read a lot of articles about how he wants to run the team. I know his son Julian's very involved in the analytics. I'm actually very pro analytics, quite honestly. But I think the coach has to have some kind of feel from a let's say a more detailed level than just kind of being a cheerleader. And like I said, I think the guy's probably a great guy. I met him very briefly one time, got a goofy picture with him, but and that's all great. But that doesn't mean that you can necessarily translate to being a winning football coach. But I'll let you guys take it from here. Thanks, Jake. Great show. All right, buddy.
Oh, I really appreciate it. Is there anybody that, obviously it seems like you'd like Nick Sirianni on. Is there anybody on your short list that you would like to see be the head coach of this team?
Great question. I like Mike Vrabel a lot.
Amen.
I think Mike Vrabel's legit. I would take him in a flash. Put it this way, Jake. I'll throw this out here for you and to your buddy. I was Mr. Keeler and I were debating about this. He's like, what does he bring? I was like, are you kidding me? The guy is like, the guy's taken a team from nothing into a winner, made Ryan Tannehill into a real quarterback. Yeah. He was so disappointed when A.J. Brown left. But
and the guy runs the ball.
I'll let you guys, and it runs the ball, balanced offense. Yes, he has Derrick Henry, and the guy's what has been a complete stud. I know he's kind of trailed off a bit, but yeah. But Jake, I got some other guys dialed in too. But great show, guys. I'll keep listening. All right.
Awesome. Looking forward to having you out at Ulysses on a Saturday coming up.
Yeah. Thanks for chiming in.
Thanks, guys.
Oh yeah, bye-bye. You got a beer on us when we see you. Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Perfect. Awesome. Later. Bye-bye.
See ya. No, he brings up a great point.
No, that's exactly it.
Like you look at other coaches and you have like, oh, this is their skill set.
Well, in Philadelphia, we're not looking for a coach we can have a beer with.
No, we're looking for a winner.
We're looking for a winner.
Yeah.
There's a lot of friends that I can call right now and have a beer with. But I'm not trying to promote somebody into this important role to be in charge of some of the offense, some of the defense. And then we're sitting here wondering why we collapsed. How many games did we lose in the last 8?
6 or 7.
And then the playoff?
Yeah, 6 or 7.
Okay.
So we are, we lost 6 of 8.
to bad
lost 8.
teams. We ran the gauntlet. We scraped by the gauntlet.
Yeah, I mean, if you told us, I mean, you look at that and you're like, yeah, Niners and Cowboys are probably 2 games looking at it that you could see them losing. And you're like, all
Cowboys
right,
at home
you beat the
and
Bills,
Niners are
you
very
beat
good.
the
Yeah.
Chiefs, you beat some good teams, and
Yep.
you lost to the Niners and Cowboys. But again, it was how they lost. It was an embarrassing fashion. Sure, the Cowboys game had some of, if not the worst officiating that we saw all year.
Yes,
But regardless, we were going to lose
officiating
that game.
is terrible. It breaks one way
Yeah.
or the other. What are you looking for in a head coach to say after 2 losses? You need somebody who's going to make the
Yeah, but
adjustments.
there's so much different about what they're going to say to the media and what they're going to say in the locker room. We have no idea what he's doing in the locker room. Like, coach talk is coach talk, and that's going to be said by anybody in anything across the league. If that's what you're saying, what are you looking for them to say? Like, I'm not going to hear any honest kind of answers to the media.
No, I agree with that. You're not going to hear it, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
Because we continued to lose. We lost to the Cardinals. We lost to the Giants. We lost to Seattle at home.
Drew Lock, 92-yard drive.
Yeah.
Drive his life.
Unbelievable. And so when I'm talking about a head coach, I'm talking about somebody who can pull you out of a slump.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, you're having a bad day. How can I
Hey,
fix this?
hey, buddy.
You know,
Yeah.
or it's I can yell at you and say, this is what we need to do. This is what I expect.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you saw him coaching the players hard on the sideline, you saw him getting into it with Hassan Reddick after a game or during a game, you saw him yelling at players. To me, that said, my scheme's fine. It's the players that aren't executing, and that's a bad sign.
That's horrible.
That's a bad sign because they weren't winning. It was the same thing week in, week out. We heard the national broadcasters bringing up how they're talking about all the issues they had. Like when they were talking about in that game, all the issues the Eagles had, I was like, man, we've been saying this since week 1.
Yeah.
Even when they were 10-1, we saw the writing on the wall. We saw the issues, and it just caught up to them. Like, we talk about it every week. When they squeaked out that win week 1, we were like, man, winning the NFL is incredibly difficult. Winning week 1, which is the craziest week in all of professional sports.
On Tom Brady night.
Yeah, on
in
time.
New
Yeah,
England.
in New England. You know, also terrible that they opened the game on the road when they were Super Bowl runners up.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a team that's winning these games, and we're like, look, it's incredibly difficult to win, especially on the road, especially in week 1. But they're doing it. But you saw the same issues every single game. And
Absolutely.
you're like, it's going to catch up to them.
It will.
It's going to catch up to them. They got to change it. But we kept saying, oh, they'll change it. They'll adjust. We saw last year they won by running the ball. They run by Jalen running the ball. They run by passing it deep. They run with explosive plays. They won with defense taking over. They won every way you could win. And this year it was the same thing for the first 11 weeks. The offense would have a decent night, and the defense would struggle and then come up clutch at the very end. I mean, we had
Well,
the first 6
it
weeks, it
got
seemed like we had a
closer.
sack at the end of the game to save every game that we're like, shit, we're going to lose this game.
I will say that so the way that we started the season was good. And then every subsequent week, it got closer and closer and
I mean, we
closer
should have
a
lost to the
lot.
Commanders.
We should have.
Yeah, I mean, Riverboat Ron got fired, and obviously he deserved to. Him not going for 2 there, and him saying, well, my offense was tired. What do you
Yeah.
think the defense was?
Yeah, right.
Like,
Our defense is
what an
gas because we
idiot.
can't keep the ball on the offensive field. It's
Unacceptable. We got Alex from South Carolina calling in. Big NFL guy. Alex, thanks for calling in. Welcome to the show.
How you doing? How y'all doing, Jake, Bill? Having a good night?
Doing wonderful. Adam. What did I say, Alex? Adam. I'm seeing an Alex in the chat. What are you going to do?
what's up, Adam?
Not much. Just wanted to call and, sort of talk about what Brandon was talking about there, talking about the coaching and how the operations are going there. Me personally, first of all, Panther fan, go Panthers. I know we suck, but it's all right,
Go Bryce Young.
Yeah, Bryce Young.
Not a big fan of Bryce Young, but I'll let y'all say that.
I'm going to say something about Bryce Young when you get to the point, but go on.
But no, so I think one of the issues here, and I think it's an issue that I've noticed with the Eagles is y'all like to get rid of coaches very, very in a short term span when it comes to y'all actually having really good runs with them.
Yeah.
So
Peterson won a Super Bowl 2 years later.
Absolutely, yeah.
exactly, Doug Peterson.
How many games has Andy Reid won?
Well,
Unbelievable coach.
I mean, Andy Reid was also, it was time. Everybody kind of was in the same mindset of it was time. And that actually brings up a great point that Bill had brought up when he was talking about, is this a hire that we really thought was going to be a long hire and everything? Look, Jeffrey Lurie, when they hired Nick Sirianni, said, we love the coach that you are, and we love the coach that you can become. You say something like that, like this was thought to be a coach that was going to be here for a while. And he still very well may. Like I said, right now, after the game, I said I'd be surprised if he kept his job. Now the emotions have died down, and now that it's Thursday and coming on Friday, and he still has it, now I'm kind of in that I'd be surprised if he lost his job. Whether he deserves to or not, I personally right now be surprised if he was fired. I think he should be, especially, like I said, with all the talent that's out there in the coaching department and everything. I think he should be. But I think, to your point, Adam, like they are tired of having this coach's carousel of Kelly, Peterson, Sirianni. They don't want to be a franchise that keeps just jumping from one coach to the next.
Yeah, and I understand, but I think I think Sirianni's done a really good job with the years that he's been there.
Yeah, being the worst team in the NFL, I'm sure a 10 and 6 or 11 and 16 looks pretty appealing.
Definitely does, and also with the fact of even like Brandon, the caller before was saying something in the sense where he doesn't see the coaching side of it. And I feel like with the coaching side of also being a head coach, there also comes just that plain Jane straight leadership role. You have to be a leader. And if, like you're saying, you see things on the side of the field and he's doing this, he's doing that, that also accounts for not being able to compensate on the back end for a certain, few other things that, I look at it in the sense I love to watch TV. I love the show Ted Lasso. If any of you seen Ted Lasso, he's not the best soccer coach. Doesn't know anything about soccer.
Know anything about it.
But he comes in there and he's just a great leader, just a great person that everyone wants to be around. I mean, hey, that might be,
It goes a long way.
Exactly. It goes a long way. That might be what, what's needed for the organization. But I feel like Philly has that same tendency when it comes to New York with quarterbacks. If they're not winning instantly, it's get them out of here,
Well, the thing with Philly is what makes Philadelphia one of, if not the greatest sports towns in the world is
not one of the greatest.
The greatest
Jake,
is the fact that we don't accept failure. We demand demand perfection, which is great. Like we're not going to sit there and be like, oh, it's a rebuild. Like you saw it with the Sixers and people hated it. You saw it with a couple, and there are times like I said
trust
earlier
the process
this year,
has become a meme.
Yeah, I mean, before the Flyers went on this miraculous run they've been on, I said to you, Bill, I said at Ulysses, I said multiple times, they should embrace the tank and they should go ahead and rebuild. We also have somebody asking if you are the caller from South Carolina is an SEC fan. So once I'm done here, you got to respond to that.
Oh, he's got some thoughts about that.
Oh yeah, he'll get in on that. But we demand perfection, and we're not going to sit here and sit in mediocrity, especially, and I'm saying this more so with the Eagles because we see what this team is and we see what this team can be. Right now, what they are is they're losers. They are choke artists. They are losers. They are what we've made fun of the Cowboys being for years, a December collapse and an early exit in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
You got to call them what they are. But we know what they can be. And so we're not going to sit here and be like, you know what? Jalen Hurts, his cap doesn't go crazy for another 2 years. Let's just stick with it. We'll keep trying with Sirianni. Maybe he'll figure it out. A.J. Brown, he's under contract for another 3 years. Devontae Smith is coming up on his last year. We'll see what we can do. No, we're in let's take advantage of this now. Jalen Hurts' cap is going to go to $50+ million a year.
It's going to hurt.
2 seasons where we won't be able to afford building a team around him. We've got to trust on the draft.
It's going to hurt.
It's going to hurt. And so we're like, no, let's go ahead and pull the trigger. Which is why I had a clip. It got thousands of views, and it went pretty well. Where I said the Eagles played dumb games and they won dumb prizes on defense. They had 8 of 11 defensive starters become unrestricted free agents. In the 5 we lost, we replaced with question marks. We lost Kaiser White, T.J. Edwards, Marcus Epps, Javon Hargraves, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. We replaced them with. I guess you could say Kevin Byard. He was a trade deadline acquisition. We replaced him with Nakobe Dean, complete question mark. Zach Cunningham, question mark. Shaq Leonard, old. We replaced him with Jalen Carter, who did very well. This is not a bash on Jalen Carter. Most likely going to be defensive rookie of the year. And we replaced him with Reed Blankenship. Again, not on Reed. Little bit little bit issue with the injuries, but again, I don't know if all of that can be on his side because you watch these injuries and you look at him, you're like, yeah, that looked like it hurt. It wasn't like he had glass bones. But either way, we lost 5 key players, replaced them with 3 question marks or 5 question marks. 2 of them worked out. The other 3 were nothing but failures. And now we're sitting in it. Instead of going out there, getting the big name in free agency, getting the big name in the trade, we said, we'll hit the bargain bin and we'll trust that our talent will be able to do the rest. And it didn't. So, SEC fan, are you?
I am an SEC fan. I am actually a Florida Gators, little Gator chomp action going on.
Go Gators. So you're a Brian Johnson guy.
There we go.
Big Brian Johnson guy.
The time that I watched college football more in my heyday was the Urban Meyer era.
Ugh.
Little Tim Tebow action.
Yeah, what a team.
What a failed experiment.
Percy Harvin, little Aaron Hernandez. You know, that whole the Pouncey the whole ordeal.
Man, have you watched the documentary?
I have not watched it yet. I don't want to give that to myself. I just want to remember him in his heyday, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Urban Myers is a dumbass.
Well, that is true.
Yeah, we got to go Dogs. I mean, look, if you want to keep producing Eagles defensive players, go ahead, minus Nakobe Dean. Look, again, I wish nothing but the best for Nakobe Dean. I hope he turns into a great player, but it's like Aaron Simpis. Like, what I've seen is not good. And so I would love for you to come next season and become the best linebacker in the NFL. But I'm just being realistic, and I don't see it. I see a guy that's constantly injured, and I see a guy that just stands there with his feet in concrete. He waits for the play to come to him instead of going there and make the play. And that's kind of the whole defense. And I've said this for the past 3 weeks. The main problem with the Eagles defense, they waited for the opposing team to make a mistake more than they went out there and made a play. I'll say it again because I stuttered. The Eagles defense waited for the opposing offense to make a mistake rather than go out there and make plays.
Absolutely.
Look at some of the best plays we had.
We were relying on drop passes.
We were relying on drop passes. We were relying on miscommunications. The best play we had was the Sidney Brown 99-yard interception return for a touchdown.
Absolutely.
That was not a good play.
No.
They had a miscommunication.
That was a broken play.
They had a complete miscommunication. He threw it to Sidney Brown. After the catch, incredible. He made a bunch of guys miss. 99 yards, no matter what, incredible. But that was our best play on defense, and it wasn't a great defensive play. It was a mistake by the offense. So when your defense is built around the other team making mistakes rather than your defensive players making plays, that's a bad sign. You saw in the comments. Look at Slay and Bradbury. Bradbury sucked, and Slay was a guy. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great. He was a guy. And we got both of these guys for at least another 2 years. Bradbury was a 3-year, $38 million contract.
And he played well. The first year was with us.
Yeah.
He played phenomenal. Second team All-Pro, and he deservedly so.
And I believe y'all overpaid Bradbury.
Yeah, I mean, we did.
Panther fan. Bradbury was a Panther. Not a great Panther.
So one of my favorite quotes of all time is from Mad Men. Peter Campbell said it. Stability is the step backwards towards failure in between losing and winning. I'm probably paraphrasing that somehow, but do we want to be stable? Do we want to bring this exact team back? Do we want to be okay with how we finished everything? Or are we going to make a change?
Yeah.
Are we going to look at what we can improve? There's players on aging contracts. There's salary cap. It's tough, but there's things that can be done.
Yeah. And there's things that need to be done.
Are we comfortable with this offense? I'm not. I'm not at all.
No. You saw games. You saw early in the season we were winning and we were getting mad because AJ Brown was sitting there like getting upset about not getting targets. And then you go 3, 4, 5 weeks later and you're like, yeah, I'm mad too now. Yeah. Like, I get why AJ Brown's mad. We had the Cardinals game. He got 1 target in the entire second half.
I mean,
1 target for the best wide receiver in Eagles history.
Jake, do you know how many yards Devonta Smith had in the Bucs game?
1 million.
Yep.
It was like what, 148? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was like 170.
Yeah,
something.
Could have been even more. I'll confirm now. Might have been. Yeah.
We got 3 field goals, and I called this.
No, we had a touchdown. And we went for the extra point or the 2 point, and we missed it. because of a face mask.
No.
By the way, they did not stop the tush push. They illegally.
Oh yeah, they ripped his head off.
Ripped Hurts' head off. They did not stop it. So,
But when a receiver has almost 200 yards and we manage 9 points, something has to happen.
Well, I would like to touch back on. It was talked about a little bit.
oh, I got it dead on 148.
Hey.
Damn it, I'm good.
Let's go.
I'd like to touch back on it a little earlier. You were talking about how you don't run any movement before the ball snapped.
Not
so,
a one.
So when you say you're unhappy or disappointed in the Eagles' offense, is that more in the sense of the play calling or the actual players?
It's
More so
absolutely
play calling.
play calling.
Because theoretically, like you were saying, y'all have one of the on paper y'all have one of the best offenses around.
I mean, we
Eagles-
signed Rashad Penny.
Well, Rashad Penny was washed, and you saw it when he was out there. The Eagles were the least utilized team of passing between the numbers, and they were the second most effective at passing between the numbers. They were the fifth most effective at running back screens, and they were the 27th in utilizing the running back screens. The things they did well, they did not do, which is so frustrating. And also, when you're watching the screens we do, why do we not have blockers?
We have none.
We throw a screen to somebody with nobody on that side of the field.
No.
And we're just like, all right, go tackle him. We can't tackle, so we're just going to assume that you can't either. And also, to touch on your point about the yards in that game, if I had told you before that game started, Bill, in this Bucks game, we hold Mike Evans scoreless in under 50 yards. We hold Chris Godwin scoreless in under 50 yards. We hold White scoreless in under 75 yards. Who's winning that game?
I was there, so I'm going to turn my brain off
but
and
before
respond.
the game, yeah.
Yeah, no.
I tell you, we
we're
hold both of their
dominating.
number one, number two wide receiver and their running back
Absolutely.
under 75 for the running back and under 50 for both receivers, and none of them score. You hear those stats.
Their tight end and their second tight end outperformed.
Well,
almost our entire
Cade
team.
Otton had the best game of his entire career.
Yeah.
Previously, his career high was 70 yards. He had 89 yards. Look, you had Palmer go out there, and you had Moore go out there. 2 catches, 66 yards, touchdown. 1 catch, 56 yards, and a touchdown. Godwin did have a score because of the Avonte Maddox
Well,
just
that doesn't
being
really
completely
count, but-
lost out there.
I was sitting there watching. It was a swing pass to the running back, right? We get a tackle at the line of scrimmage. This guy is small. He's probably about our size.
Yeah, and this was on third down. It would have been brought on a punt.
Yeah.
Who missed the tackle there?
And this man
On James Bradbury.
it was 2 broken tackles.
Yes.
And shrugs both of them off. Gets a
And it would have been a
first down.
tackle for like a 3-yard loss.
So James Bradbury, and then who was the second one that missed it?
Might have been Maddox. I'm not 100%.
He like dived and didn't even get it.
It was Roby or Maddox, one of the two.
It was Roby.
It was
yeah.
terrible.
And that happened multiple different points.
Yeah.
We're not making the plays that we need to make.
No,
And,
and-
that ultimately falls back and ties back into the conversation we were having. When you have a head coach, when you have that coach who's in charge of the OCDC, we need a game plan.
Yeah, but I will say tackling is on the players. When we're talking about is it the offensive play calling? Yeah, it's more on the play calling than on the offense. They're not putting players in positions to succeed.
But
On
Avonte,
defense,
Avonte Maddox is a good player.
He was a good player. I don't know if he is a good player.
You're telling me that
he
he's
was a very
gassed
good player.
at the end of the first quarter and he's missing that arm tackle?
No, I'm telling you that he's just not as good as a player as he used to be. I said last year Avonte Maddox is the best nickel corner in the NFL, and now I don't think he's in the top 50%. We have Isaiah Rodgers, who was suspended for a year, that I'm looking forward to take over that position and have Avonte Maddox probably leave the team. Adam, quick final thoughts with you. We are looking at Bryce Young, your quarterback. Do you think he's got a future there? Because from a team, I didn't follow the Panthers all that seriously. You know, I play fantasy football, so I follow most teams at least at a baseline level. But I'm looking at a guy that his number one wide receiver is old ass Adam Thielen. I'm looking at Miles Sanders, who stinks. What's his the? Why can't I think? I had the backup running back on a lot of my teams. Chuba Hubbard, who it was fine, but an offensive line that stinks. Their tight end stinks. Their wide receivers stink. Like
Their
Well, the
offensive
team
line
sucked.
stinks.
Yeah, their offensive line stinks. I said I'll double stink it. I don't think it's anywhere close to being ready to move on or be like, no, this guy was a bust. Because like, get the guy a decent offensive line, get the guy a singular offensive weapon, and then you'll know what he is.
You have your opinion. I vividly screamed at the TV when they drafted Bryce Young. I was a CJ Stroud all the way kind of guy. But, we brought in a head coach. He wanted who he wanted. We also got a new owner. He wanted who he wanted. He also is, letting other people make decisions inside the organization that maybe shouldn't have a little bit of insight inside the organization, but that's all up to him. No, personally, I don't think I don't think Bryce Young is the quarterback of the future for the Panthers.
Yeah. And when I say, for Eagles fans, listen, when I say Miles Sanders stinks, I'm saying currently. He currently is not good. But
Well,
again,
he doesn't have a good line.
his offensive line was terrible, and the play calling was not great. The whole Panthers ownership, the whole Panthers organization is not in great shape.
Well, and it comes down to the scheme as well.
I mean, you have the owner come into a coach's meeting and say, "Hey, I saw this play on TV. I want us to run it."
Yeah, then he got mad at a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, threw a drink on him. So,
Yeah,
I
what
mean,
are you
you know.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Adam? Thank you so much for hopping on.
Hey, thank you.
We appreciate it. We're gonna see. Yeah, we got people saying, "Look, Bryce Young, not a bad pick. Just waiting on the coaching." Look at bad coaching, bad ownership, no players on that side of the ball. Really waiting to see what they can do there. We are going over to Cody on the webcam. Cody, it is a pleasure to have you on. I know you have some thoughts on coaching, tackling, all kinds of things. Welcome to the show.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's a mess, and there's something culturally wrong with the team. And that's kind of touching around it with Sirianni and everything. It's like I was saying a little bit earlier. You've got a head coach that the Eagles did well under, but something went wrong. Something broke in that locker room, and that team completely lost faith in itself.
Yeah.
The Eagles were playing without heart. I mean, yeah, not to beat a dead horse, but if you just look at the Bucs game in the playoffs, they started off like they didn't believe they could win. At no point did they look like they were playing well in that game. And so there's a lot of questions to answer this offseason. And certainly, the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator is gonna need some changes. And if Sirianni ends up going, I think a lot of people would be happy about it and it'd be justified. But at the same time, if he sticks around, it's kind of a question of, well, can we get back to where we should be under him?
So, Cody, let me ask you this. If you were the owner, what's the first move you're making tomorrow? Is it a call? Is it an interview? Is it bringing your coach or your offensive defensive coordinator? What are you doing tomorrow?
Well, I think item one is, the offensive and defensive coordinator are going to go. You got to start working on replacing them. So you do that, and I think you have if you want to keep Sirianni, if you think he's your guy, got you to the Super Bowl last year, you have a conversation with him. Dude's got to be on a tight leash. I think you got to be frank about it and say, hey, what we did this past season ain't working. So that's on you. And explain to me why you think that happened and how we're going to change it this year. And depending on how that conversation goes, decide whether you want to keep that guy or replace him too.
Yeah. I think this exit interview needs to be much more of like hey, nothing's set in stone. Like your answers are going to determine your future here. And if he says the right things, you're going to keep him. Like, yeah, he's done enough in the past 2 years, with at least wins and then the last year's success to be like, all right, we'll give you a chance. But like a lot of people have said, on very thin ice. But if he starts giving you the wrong answers and is like, look, man, it was the players, our coaching staff is fine. We can even keep our guys. Like, we have a good system here. They just didn't execute. Get that guy the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Because, he's saying enough things where it's obvious that he's not the guy. And so it's going to have to really be determined on the answers that he gets. So I really hope Jeffrey Lurie plays hardball and asks some of these tough questions.
As he should. Yes.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Lurie needs to have a very tough conversation with Sirianni. This cannot be, hey, man, you think that we're going to do better next year? And no, he needs to ask these questions about what happened on offense, what happened on defense, what happened within the locker room. And as you said, Jake, earlier, we're not going to get the answers to what happened in the locker room and why all of this is going down. But Lurie can get those answers, and he needs to.
Oh, yeah.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, how do you have a locker room full of guys like Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox and, these veterans that have been on this team for so long and team lose heart like they did? How did the culture go down the toilet like that?
Look, if you ask the guys, the culture didn't. I mean, they say that the locker room was great and all, but it's just you saw completely different things. You saw when they were first and 20 in a crucial drive, and they went run it, quarterback draw, wide receiver screen that eventually made Devontae Smith his first and only game as a pro. You saw the camera look at the players, and they were like, "The fuck did we just do? Like, what was that?" So you see things that you're just like, no, like. They can say the locker room's there, the vibes are there and all, but you can see they are not happy with the play calls. And two things can be true. When Jason Kelsey goes on WIP or is talking after the game and say, we need to do a lot of things better. We really messed up. We got to execute better. That can be true. Like they need to do that better, but that doesn't mean that it also doesn't need to be true or can't be true that the play calling and the scheme was also terrible.
Well, it's a partial truth. It's not the full truth. We're talking about, did our offense do okay? And the coach says, oh, we had these guys who just didn't execute, blah, 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 whatever it is. But that's not actually what's going on. Like the reason that we aren't moving the football, the reason that we aren't converting first downs, chewing up that clock, it's the scheme. But your head coach isn't going to come out and say, this is why we aren't succeeding.
Yeah. No, it's all coach talk.
Yeah, it's the PC, this is the frontward facing.
So number. We got to do better. We got to do better executing. I got to put our guys in better position to succeed. We got to take advantage of this team. That was a good team we played out there.
Absolutely.
Tough to win in this league. They have a lot of good players. We're going to come out there, practice hard, focus, put all of our attention on next week, not live in the past, and see if we can turn this thing around.
Yeah, I mean, this guy.
Tell me that's not exactly what every coach
this
says.
Guy's got the speech memorized. Like it's so easy to do. It's just it's a deflective thing. Are we feeling that? Do we believe that, Jake? Do we believe that is the truth, or do we think a change needs to be made?
You know what I believe?
Tell me.
I believe that we are seeing a Flyers team go on a crazy run. 5-1 winners tonight.
At the beginning of the season, we had a 6% chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know where we're at right now?
A lot higher.
We're at 78.3% for the last PFF, which I know a lot of people don't like PFF, but last time I checked, we have an almost 80% chance to make the playoffs.
Excellent. Yeah, we're second in the Metro right now. Look, what I believe is we're outperforming our expectations. We're doing very well. And we're looking at a coach that I did not like the hire of, but he is a hard coach in John Tortorella.
You didn't like Torts?
I didn't like the hire.
I didn't think Torts is a fantastic hire.
I didn't love it. It's quickly changing my mind. He is a guy that doesn't care about your feelings. You had Bobby Brink, who was playing in his hometown of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Just the other week, he had his family get tickets. It was going to be one of the first times they watch him live. You know what he did?
He benched him.
Yo,
I saw it.
And he said, Bobby Brink is not good enough right now. He's not playing good enough right now. Do I think he said, I think he's going to be an excellent player for this franchise. I think that he's going to be a huge contributor. But right now we have guys playing better and he's not playing well. Unfortunately, he's not going to have to play. Do I care that he's going to have to not play in front of his family? No, I don't. It's unfortunate.
So when they hired Torts last year,
he said, I don't have an agenda here. I have a winning agenda.
I was not a fan of it because I knew the Flyers were trying to retool And I've come on this podcast before. I've said it out loud. I think the Flyers need to get a couple of high draft picks. Trust the process. We know the Philly thing. He did very well.
Yeah.
Trading away Giroux.
That was a bad trade. They could have gotten so much more.
It's fine. I mean, he was going to leave.
A bad trade.
And we said
and he was gonna come back. He was gonna get traded. He said, "You can send me anywhere as long as you guarantee you'll bring me back next year." And they said, "Nah." But that was on Chuck Fletcher. Anyway, they could have gotten more for him and had him back in a Flyers uniform, which I would love. Love Claude Giroux.
No,
they royally screwed up that trade.
Giroux deserves a cup. He needs to.
Yeah, of course he does.
And
I would love for him to win a cup.
You know, we got Atkinson in. We got a couple of other people. We hired Danny Briere.
Yeah,
I love
Keith
Danny
Jones.
Briere. I mean, yeah, we have a lot of things. And so I say this is kind of a retooling year. You know, then they hire Tortorella. Tortorella's a winning coach.
Yeah.
Tortorella does not lose. He's a hard ass.
Yeah, he's not a player's coach.
So
players don't like him.
I'm looking
but
at
for the
this,
most part.
and I say, okay, we're jettisoning some of our talent. We're going to retool. What's our first round pick this year isn't draft eligible for another year and a half due to his KHL contract. Michkov.
Yeah, he won't be here for another 2 years.
Year and a half. Well, technically 2 seasons. Yeah.
He won't be here next season. I don't believe he'll be there this season.
So I came into this season and I was saying, just be bad. Be poopy.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
Like, Carter
trade away
Hart,
Konechny. Trade away,
absolutely.
Trade Carter Hart. And now
stockpile
Konechny's
these
finally the
draft picks.
player that we had hoped he'd be.
Stockpile these draft picks. Get all of this talent because Michkov is going to be fantastic. He should have been the number 1 overall pick or number 2. I mean, Connor
the best
Bedard's
quote I
fantastic.
saw when the Flyers drafted Michkov was, "It's a risk drafting him,
absolutely,
but it would have been a much bigger risk not drafting him." That was the best quote I saw with it.
So if he was NHL eligible, he would have
second
been
overall, first or second overall.
Connor Bedard is very good, but so anyway, we're here. We had low expectations, and we're making the playoffs.
Yeah, second in the Metro, a very competitive division right now.
And so when we bring this all back, Philly is a winning city.
Yeah,
we
demand
win.
greatness.
We demand greatness, even if we're not winning the cup or the Lombardi or the pennant.
Well, Philly is a winning city in the sense that we demand to win. But look, I hate to say it, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I hate to say it. If you look at the history of Philadelphia, Philly is a losing city.
Well,
we don't win.
So this is when
we don't win championships.
This is when me and you disagree.
We don't win championships. You can't say yes we do because
we don't. I'm not saying that we don't win championships. But would you, our friend from Kentucky, would you rather be a Cincinnati Reds fan and miss the playoffs year after year after year?
The Phillies missed the playoffs for a decade.
Yeah, and now we're good.
Yeah.
You were 14 years old when they missed the playoffs.
Okay.
So now here we are. We're a winning city. Flyers are good. Sixers are good. Yeah, we're not winning championships.
Yeah, but we look at the whole history. We have less than 10 world championships with all of our teams combined.
Take the postseason out of it.
We've got 2 or 3 World Series, 2 NBA championships, 2 cups, and 1 Super Bowl and 2 World Championships for football. So that's exactly 9 or 10. That's not pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's not pretty good.
It is.
No, it's not. We need to win championships.
I'll jump in here as a Cincy area native and a lifelong Reds fan and Bengals fan, and going years and years without making the playoffs and having losing records. I think Philly's had a lot going for it. At least always being competitive in multiple sports. It's a rough stretch when you go decades without seeing a playoff or any postseason in your hometown's professional sports teams. So it could be a whole lot worse. There's a difference between not winning the whole thing and perennially being not good.
Yeah, I mean, we're not any team in Ohio.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, Jake. Trade Philly
For the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, but but we're talking about.
Would you rather be
Yes,
a
I'd rather be in
Cleveland
Philly,
Brown?
but you're
There you
talking
go.
about the worst state of sports in America. Like, yeah, I'd rather be better than the state of Ohio. The entire
Houston
state of Ohio stinks.
Houston Texans are still alive in the playoffs, right?
Yeah,
now.
they are a new franchise.
Would you rather be a Houston Texans fan or
No,
a
I'm
Philadelphia fan?
always going to say Philadelphia, but again, you're talking about cities that aren't winning cities, and you're being like, well, would you rather be this losing city? Would you rather be our losing city?
We're not a losing city.
We are a losing
We're
city.
not a-
I'm
we're
as
not
diehard of a
losers.
fan as anybody in the world, but I'm going to say, like, we have 10 championships between all of our teams combined. That's not a winning city.
Well, if you only count championships,
Yes, that's what I want. I'm not a Dallas Cowboys fan. I don't sit here and play on style points and talk to you about how, oh, well, we have put all of these incredible regular season stats. We did this, we did that.
we
Oh, in
the
the
Eagles
playoffs,
went
sure,
to
we
the
didn't
Super
do
Bowl
anything.
last year.
Yeah. And did they win it? Should
So-
they have won it? Yes. Did they win
Should
it?
they?
No.
Yeah, but we can't control that. But they were.
So
there.
what's an example of a winning city? I mean, who's got it better than Philly?
Unfortunately, New York is a very winning city.
Well, they paid for it, so.
I mean, they paid for what?
Oh,
Well-
were we talking about the Yankees?
The Yankees,
Phillies
yeah,
roster
they
is
bought
yeah,
the
they bought the
championship. The
championship.
Giants have a number of Super Bowls. The Knicks back in the day were a powerhouse.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
then
Well, let's talk about.
San Francisco
let's
went
talk
on a
about
couple
Michigan
of runs.
football.
Unfortunately, the worst sports city in America is a more winning sports city in LA. LA is the worst sports city in the world, but they're a winning sports city.
Let's talk
unfortunately.
about Michigan football.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this stat? They got to 1,000 wins this year.
Great.
You know how they did that?
How'd they do that?
So for the first 25 years of their existence, nobody played college football. So they would go to the doctors and surgeons college and say, hey, we have this fun game we should play, right? You should play us. And they would spend 2 days teaching them. Then they would play them and destroy them.
Yeah.
80 something to 0.
Go Wolverines.
Yeah, go Wolverines. And yeah, so that counted on their record. I mean, it's Toronto. How many Stanley Cups has Toronto won when there were 4 teams in the league?
Yeah. No, I get it.
So
but
we're measuring success by the ultimate, but
but
there is a nuance.
LA's won a ton of championships recently. New York's won a ton of championships recently. Like when the teams had at least 26 teams in each league. Like I just want, and I need Philly to be. I need to see every team in our city win. I need a Sixers championship. I need a Phillies World Series again. 08, amazing. Right there with 17.
Oh, trust me, I was there last year and this year.
I was there the past 2 years as well.
Yeah.
I was at.
I
was
didn't
at the
even tell
one
my
home
work.
winning World Series game.
Please don't
against the
tell my
Astros.
boss that this is actually what happened. But yeah, I was there and I blacked out and just didn't go into work the next day.
Oh, there's a bunch of pictures of me wearing very little clothes at the Citizens Bank Park, going nuts.
yeah.
And look, I would love, I need to see a cup.
But-
oh my gosh!
But would you rather be there or would you rather be the Reds? The Guardians? Would you rather be the
Again, you're talking.
Would you
about
rather be the
Ohio
Athletics?
teams? The Athletics. Well, now they're Vegas, which is terrible. I'm sorry for the city of Oakland.
Yeah,
they got
right.
screwed
twice?
twice. Look, all I'm saying is I need to see some damn championships. I'm going to. We have the
You will,
players. Like
yeah.
we will.
You
I
got,
need to
you
see
got
a
another
cup.
70 years in you. You'll
Need
see
to
a
see a cup.
championship.
Need to see a world championship in basketball. This could be the year with basketball. Joel's playing out of his melon. Thinking Maxey is playing ridiculous. Better be an all-star. And Joel said it right.
Sixers are
He
looking
should be an
good,
all-star
yeah.
starter. The tough thing is they seem to be out of they finally got a few assets back in the Harden trade, and they're like, we don't want to get rid of them and go all in just to lose. And it seems like they're a little hesitant to go in and really make a splash trade to get that last little piece they need. But Tobias Harris is having probably his best year of the past 3 years right now. Harris is playing great. You got a lot of good role guys right now. Patrick Beverly is doing well. We'll see. We'll see. Cody, any final thoughts? I apologize for giving you very few moments to hop in there.
Yeah,
Oh,
we did
no,
kind of
no, no
hijack it. Sorry,
worries.
Cody.
That's right.
Sorry, Cody.
I'm less up to speed on the Phillies and the Flyers than I am the Eagles, but I've enjoyed the discussion nonetheless. So now it's all good.
Any final thoughts on the Birds?
Excited to see what happens. I'm cautiously optimistic about the
yeah.
offseason here.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate the time.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys have a good one.
Go Birds.
Go
Go
Birds,
Birds.
baby.
Bill, we're getting to that point of the show. We're going to start wrapping things up. While it has not been yet made official, I do think that we would be remiss if we did not spend at least 5 to 10 minutes giving Jason Kelce the farewell that he so truly and has very much so deserved. Again, as he is going, like I hated that the media put it out there before he did. Like,
Well,
the guy
yeah.
has, I mean, it's their job. I get it. But I just hate that side of sports broadcasting.
So he did it on the sidelines at Tampa Bay. It caught wind. They put it out there. Yeah. But we need to pay homage.
But he did say on his podcast that, no, I have not yet retired.
He is not.
He insinuated he is going to.
He has not yet done it. He told his teammates. He gave him the hug. He's done. I mean, the Eagles are done.
Yeah.
So he's not going to see him again.
But has there, I mean, I can tell you no in my lifetime. You're only a little bit older than me. But just looking back, and obviously I love Philadelphia sports history. I like to look up a lot of the guys that have been here and watch a lot of things and hear a lot of things about them. I don't know in Philadelphia sports history if there is a player that understood this city and its fans more than Jason Kelce. Like maybe Bobby Clark, like he got the blue collar, rough team, rough city. He was well respected. He's loved and cherished in this town. Ron Hextall, but I put Jason Kelce above both of them.
So champion of the city is going to be Kelce.
Yeah.
I
mean, all-time Philadelphia sports, not
the
just
only-
Eagles, all-time Philadelphia sports.
The
he's
only
number
person.
one. He's the 101.
The only person that comes close for me is
Dawkins.
Brian Dawkins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that man
B-Dawg's right.
understood.
They're both
But Kelce
neck
did.
and neck.
Kelce did the same thing. He came out. He was, waving. He was like, "Let's go. Let's do this." He was a leader.
Yeah.
Same as Brian Dawkins.
Yeah, him and Dawk are right there neck and neck.
And like everybody else, I mean, Clark, you have all of the Flyers players. You have I'm going to, with a caveat, $1 bet.
$1 bet. I don't even know what we're betting on. But
We
I'll
will
do it.
talk about this in 6 years. The only person that can get close is Bryce Harper.
Yeah, if he wins a championship,
I don't.
But
I
still don't put
think
him
Bryce
there.
needs to win the championship.
he gets the city.
He does.
He's obviously not pandering. Like he loves this city.
He does.
His big regret is not being a Philly for his entire career.
Yeah, and you saw him at the Flyers game with his daughter.
Oh, yeah.
and and she's like,
Yeah, he's not faking it.
so I think number 1A is going to be Kelce.
Mhm.
1B Dawkins. 1B.1 is going to be Harper. TBD.
And you're saying above Clarkey, above Hextall, above
100%.
really above
Yeah.
Chuck Bednarik, above all these guys.
I think so. Well, and call that like
Yeah, I mean he's
the
he's
different
darn close. He's
generations,
he leaves it all out there. He fights through injury. He comes back as quickly as he can. He changes positions to do whatever he can to help this team.
absolutely.
Look, I'm as big as a Harper guy as you're going to find.
If Harper wins a championship, if he wins,
Should have won 2 years ago.
he should.
And I still
Yeah.
look. Call me whatever you want. Astros were cheating in that World Series. Did you look at the curveball average?
Wait,
spin
are you
rate?
saying that the Astros cheat? Do the Astros cheat?
Well, obviously, we know they cheat, but did you look at the curveball average spin rate in that series?
Yeah.
They had over 800 more average rotations per minute than the
Yeah.
Eagles curveballs,
Unbelievable.
which was they averaged a higher spin rate in that World Series than during the Spider Tack era.
Trust me, I went to all of those home games.
Yeah, I went to the one winning game, so you're
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.
I've only gone to
Oh, the home run derby? That
Yeah.
was
I've
fantastic.
only
game.
been at winning postseason games. I've never been to a Phillies losing postseason game.
I've been to a lot of Phillies.
Yeah. I've
postseason
never been to a
games, yeah.
Phillies postseason loss. So really, Phillies, hook your boy up. If you want to win,
This guy.
I only go to winning postseason games. But yeah, they were cheating. Either way, yeah, if he wins the championship,
He is the
one of the
greatest
greatest Philly of all time. And there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of great Phillies.
But look at what he's doing for the city.
Yeah,
for
big city guy.
That's kind of the cheat that we have right now. If somebody establishes a charity that donates $10 million versus 30 years ago, the pitcher that won it and he donated $10,000.
Yeah.
So it's a cheat code, but I think Bryce Harper is Philadelphia. I mean, I have 3 of those headbands, the same one, that
Yeah, of
Philly
course.
Fanatic. Yeah. And I just wash them in different times. And
Yeah.
It's the
Rinse,
guy
cycle, repeat.
is Philly.
Oh yeah, but we're going to talk about all that and plenty this entire year. We renewed our season tickets, so for everybody that follows us, you saw we did ticket giveaways at least twice a month. We were throwing. I mean, really, I follow a lot of Philadelphia sports podcasts and everything. Like, it's all a great family. Like, when I first started, there's so many people that welcomed me in with open arms, showed me the ropes, did everything for me. They're all phenomenal. No podcast gives away more shit than us.
Oh, no.
Nobody gives away more free shit than Talking 215. Like, that's a guarantee for Philadelphia sports podcasts.
And no other podcast would let me just riff with you.
Yeah. Sure. Come on anytime.
Yeah.
But we give away tickets
all
the time.
Talking 215 is my favorite Philly sports podcast.
There we go. You heard it here first. Anyway, we're getting off topic. We do that often at Talking 2.
Yeah. Especially when I'm on.
Jason Kelsey.
It hurts.
And again, like Coach said, shout out Coach. I won't believe he is retired until next season ends. Even if until he doesn't play a single game next season, because I still have that in my heart that if Cam Jurgens gets injured, they'll call him and he'll say, "What do you need?" And he'll come in. Because I do think Cam Jurgens will move to center. He played great at right guard.
Jake, I agree with that.
I just don't think, until he doesn't play a single game for a year, I don't think he's retired. I think he's semi-retired. He's Tom Brady retired.
Yes, I agree with you there. It's he's not going to be their week 1 or definitely not practice team center. But if they gave him a call, maybe. But he's got his fourth kid on the way.
Third kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, Hall of Fame, if not the greatest center of NFL history, Hall of Fame dad. When I was at training camp,
100%
after every
100% Hall of Fame dad.
After every practice when we were at training camp, again, humble brag, only podcast at training camp, aside from the people that technically have a podcast that are there with their news agency.
Jason Kelsey.
Well, I'm saying not players. After almost every practice, he would set up all of the dummies and all of the pads into a fort.
Yeah, with the kids.
And just have let the kids play, and he'd throw
I saw so many of
people
those.
Called it people called it playing fetch with his kids.
Yeah.
No, he's just wearing them out. He's doing what a good dad should do. Let them get some energy out. Having them just love the fact that he's there doing their thing. I mean, guy was just phenomenal. You posted, the guy talked to me a number of times after practice. I posted some great pictures of me and him with it. Of course, I had my facial paralysis, as I still am greatly suffering from Ramsey Hunt. Hit my GoFundMe. No, I'm fine. But I had complete left side.
You look pretty normal to me.
I look all right now. I'll show you some pictures after when we're off air. I had complete facial paralysis. So I took a picture with Jason Kelsey looking like a moron. Well, no, I will say looking more like a moron than I currently do. But nicest guy you could meet. Talk to Princess Kylie. Nice lady. Very nice lady.
She's U.S. women's soccer team, yeah?
No, that's Zach Ertz's wife.
Okay.
Kylie Kelsey is just a wonderful lady.
Field hockey. What did she play? She played field hockey.
She might have played field hockey. Yeah. I'm not sure. All I know is she's not professional level. She's just a wonderful lady. Yeah, that's all. She's just a wonderful lady. Very nice.
I bet.
All the kids are super cute. But look, Jason Kelsey, this is just a thank you for your service. A TYFYS. Thank you for your service. You have earned every bit of enjoyment. I hope that you have nothing but all of the happiest times and memories to grow up with your family. I hope that no injury lingers with you outside of your football career. I hope that you just have nothing but joy and fond memories, and that they are able to bring you back, and that you want to come back into this organization in any capacity. We would be lucky and honored to have you be a part of this historic franchise that you helped make so historic. So Jason Kelce, this delicious Surfside is for you. I finished it because they're Surfside and they're delicious. And that's what you do.
No, I agree with that. Jason Kelce, we are going to miss you. Please.
There will never be.
Just go
a
find
player
find the fountain of youth and wind the clock back, I guess.
There will never be. And
You
the
can't.
one biggest thing, and look, his kids are adorable. You watched the documentary. I saw him at training camp. The one thing we hate is he didn't have a son yet.
Well,
Yes.
yeah.
The boy's retired. He's getting busy. He
Well,
met his wife on Tinder.
Well, maybe Travis and Taylor have a son, and then they move
No,
to
screw
Philadelphia,
that.
and I
Screw
don't
that.
know.
Give me Jason's offspring.
Right. No, on sincerity here, Jason, thank you.
Yes.
This has been such a great ride. You're such a professional. You're so good.
The day he announces a retirement is the day I want them to announce 62 is retired. The number.
I mean, I'll donate my ACLs.
Yeah. The day he announces retirement, I want them to announce the number 62 will never be worn by another Eagle.
Like if I can scrap some of my body parts to keep him playing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Anytime he went down with anything, I'm like, do you want my ankles?
Yeah.
Because
Like,
his
sure,
ankles are
yeah.
obviously things that he's said.
I got
have really bothered him.
UCLs.
You
I
can
got
have
ACLs,
you can have any
in
of them.
my
I will.
eyes. Yeah.
You can take whatever.
take
need.
it.
But all I'm saying is,
But yeah, no, 62 needs to be retired.
62.
If it's not on a banner or plastered on the walls of the link,
forever.
it needs to be.
He will get it. I mean, if he needs to get a statue, his number needs to be retired. He is without a doubt, he is an automatic first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, there's no question about
No,
that.
I have. I unfortunately I was unable to go to Canton for Dawkins.
He is,
enshrinement.
Jason Kelce is the greatest center of all time.
Yes.
If he is not a first ballot Hall of Famer,
And this is not to take away from Jason Kelce, but this is also a thank you to Jeff Stoutland, because you helped mold the player that we all know and love.
yeah,
And I can't, and I do not want to go on to talk about anything else after
go Bearcats,
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati Bearcats.
Two of my favorite Eagles, Jason
Yeah.
Kelce, Brett Selleck.
Yeah,
Brett Selleck, Cincinnati.
they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. I cannot continue to talk about Philly sports after that. He deserves us to end the show.
That's
on the
it.
thank you to
Hit
Jason
the
Kelce.
flamp flamp, and
That
we're
is-
done.
that,
Because Jason Kelce.
that's it.